Welcome to the January-February 2017 issue of the BVA Bulletin, Volume 72, Number 1. Dale Stamper of Hayden, Idaho, serves as the current national president of the Blinded Veterans Association. Joe Parker of Pisgah Forest, North Carolina, is the national vice president. Paul Mims of Kansas City, Missouri, occupies the position of national secretary, and Joseph McNeil of Columbus, Georgia, is BVA's national treasurer. The district directors are as follows: Dennis O'Connell of Long Beach, New York, representing District 1, David Fox of Kettering, Ohio, the District 2 director, Vernon Richmond of Haw River, North Carolina, directing District 3. Genesee Amaro of Gilbert, Arizona, is a director from District 4, while Paul Kaminsky of Middleburg, Florida, represents District 5, and Dr. Thomas Sampieri of Pearland, Texas, serves the BVA membership in District 6. Mark Cornell of San Antonio, Texas, is the association's immediate past national president. Additional appointed officers are Charles Brooks of Kissimmee, Florida, as National Chaplain, Monica Gilmore of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, as the National Sergeant-at-Arms, and two honorary board members, Joe Burns of New Orleans, Louisiana, and Dr. Donald Gagliano of National Harbor, Maryland. Blinded Veterans Association auxiliary officers are as follows: President Sandy Krasnodemsky of Allen Park, Michigan, Vice President Edna Kirksey Dixon of Bay Minette, Alabama, Secretary Benjamin Holmes of Midland, Georgia, and Treasurer Carl Heitenen of Seekonk, Massachusetts. Pam Hogan of Canyon Country, California, is the designated auxiliary reporter and the author of this issue's Auxiliaries View column. BVA's national headquarters staff members are Executive Director Al Avina, Administrative Director Bridget Jones, National Field Service Program Director Edward Eckroth, and Chief Financial Officer Kathy Rouet. The Director of Government Relations is Melanie Brunson. The National Field Service Training Coordinator is Wade Davis. Christina Hitchcock is the Manager of Projects and Conventions, while the Manager of Communications and BVA Bulletin Editor is Stuart Nelson. The Human Resource Specialist for the headquarters is Chrissy Spence-Gilbert. BVA's full-time National Field Service Resource Center staff members are Wanda Grover, Richard Lane, Patrick Johnson, and Hallie Smith. BVA National Headquarters is currently located at 125 Northwest Street, Alexandria, Virginia, 22314. Each full-time headquarters staff member can be reached by dialing 202-371-8880 or toll-free 1-800-669-7079, and by then following prompts that connect the caller to the correct department and individual. Email communication will be forwarded to the appropriate recipient when sent through BVA's general email address, bva@bva.org. The organization's combined federal campaign number remains 10513. The BVA Bulletin is published bi-monthly by and for all blinded veterans. There is no charge to receive the print version of the publication, which is available upon request of the national headquarters to any interested individual or organization. Requests for multiple copies will be honored whenever possible. An audio compact disc version is mailed to annual and life members upon specific request. Contents of this issue of the Bulletin are represented by the following major headings: Legislative Update by Melanie Brunson, President's Page by Dale Stamper, BVA announces Jacksonville as 72nd Convention Site, Florida Airboats Exceed Expectations by Mike Taylor, The Podcast and You by Tim Hornick, Around BVA, Auxiliaries View by Pam Hogan, Happenings in District 5 by Paul Kaminsky, From the Field Staff by Ed Eckroth, Of Note, In Remembrance, and The Final Thought. The cover of this issue of the Bulletin reveals a color photo of a middle-aged-looking gentleman dressed in business attire. The photo has been taken at a slight angle, making the right side of his profile more visible than the left. His suit coat is a dark blue and the tie a dark red. On his left lapel is a pin which, although very small, shows the outline of the logo of the Department of Veterans Affairs. He is seated behind a table microphone and appears to be preparing to speak. In the background to his left, or to the right in the photo, are other persons barely visible who are also seated. On the cover page, in quotation marks above the spectators' images, is the following verbiage. Quote, I view my VA service as a duty to give back to the men and women who secured the uniquely American freedoms and opportunities we enjoy because of the sacrifices they made. End quote. The accompanying photo description below this issue's table of contents on page 2 of the Bulletin states the following. Department of Veterans Affairs Secretary nominee Dr. David J. Shulkin told members of the VA Senate Committee that he would seek major reform and a transformation of VA during his confirmation hearing February 1st. Dr. Shulkin promised greater accountability, dramatically improved access, responsiveness, and expanded care options throughout the VA system, while, at the same time, rejecting notions of privatization under his watch. Additional information about the hearing and BVA's impressions of his nomination are referenced in this issue of the Bulletin. Legislative Update by Melanie Brunson. A thumbnail, shoulder-length color photograph of Melanie is located at the beginning of her legislative update. The depiction shows her with dark glasses and an extremely faint smile. There is no caption with the photo. New administration, new VA secretary. This first subsection of the legislative update is accompanied by still an additional photo. The same Dr. David Shulkin featured on the cover is seen standing this time and speaking from a podium, again with the assistance of a microphone. He is in the middle of emphasizing a particular point, evident by a hand gesture that shows both arms extended and the palms of his hands facing one another. The caption states, "Newly appointed VA Secretary David J. Shulkin, one of 4 featured speakers at the BVA 71st National Convention's Thursday Forum on August 25, 2016. The text of the subsection begins, "I was pleased to begin penning the current update for our Bulletin readers on the eve of the inauguration of our nation's 45th President, which was also 2 weeks after the opening of the 115th Congress. As January 20th came and went, other events occurred in a whirlwind. The House of Representatives and Senate reconvened and began their work 2 weeks before the inauguration. The attention of most Capitol observers has been on the Senate, which began conducting hearings on President Trump's nominations for members of his cabinet. On that very subject, on February 1st, 3 weeks after the announcement of his appointment, I attended the confirmation hearing for Undersecretary for Health David J. Shulkin to become the 9th Secretary of Veterans Affairs since VA became a cabinet-level department of the federal government. Dr. Shulkin's recent first-hand experience at VA should serve him well if and when he is confirmed. The Senate previously confirmed him unanimously as Undersecretary for Health in June 2015. As Undersecretary, Dr. Shulkin has directed the work of the Veterans Health Administration, VHA, the nation's largest integrated healthcare system with more than 1,700 sites of care and serving 8.76 million veterans each year. Prior to being nominated by President Obama for his VHA appointment, Dr. Shulkin served in numerous chief executive roles, including that of President of Morristown Medical Center, Goryeb Children's Hospital, and Atlantic Rehabilitation Institute. He also served as President and CEO of Beth Israel Medical Center in New York City and as Chief Medical Officer of the University of Pennsylvania Health System, Temple University Hospital, and the Medical College of Pennsylvania Hospital. Dr. Shulkin addressed members of BVA at the association's 71st National Convention during the traditional Thursday Forum on August 25th of last year. His presentation described 25 ways in which VA is leading in U.S. healthcare, emphasizing the well-rounded nature of VA care and the comprehensive definition of the term health. He also cited various research studies demonstrating that VA outperforms its private sector counterparts. BVA has had a positive working relationship with Dr. Shulkin since he assumed his current position, and we are looking forward to working with him to build on the changes that have begun throughout the department. At press time, now that the hearing has occurred, Dr. Shulkin awaits a committee vote that will likely recommend him for approval by the full Senate. The timeline for both events is currently uncertain. Once they occur, we will post details on our website and circulate them through our legislative email list as well. New 115th Congress. Speaking of the Senate VA Committee, the names of the senators who will be serving on that committee for the next 2 years have been announced. Republican members are Chairman Johnny Isakson of Georgia, Jerry Moran of Kansas, John Boozman of Arkansas, Dean Heller of Nevada, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Mike Rounds of South Dakota, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, and Dan Sullivan of Alaska. Democrats on the committee are Ranking Member John Tester of Montana, Patty Murray of Washington, Bernie Sanders of Vermont, an independent who caucuses with the Democrats, Sherrod Brown of Ohio, Mazie Hirono of Hawaii, and Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Please keep those lists handy for future reference, especially if your own senator is included on one of them. House leaders have also completed their assignments for the committee. It will be chaired by Representative Phil Rowe, M.D., Republican, Tennessee District 1, Dr. Rowe served 2 years in the U.S. Army Medical Corps following graduation from medical school. He was elected to Congress in 2008 and has been a member of the committee most of that time. The ranking member of the House Committee will be Representative Tim Walz, Democrat, Minnesota, District 1, who enlisted in the Army National Guard at age 17 and retired 24 years later as Command Sergeant Major. Before retiring, he served overseas with his battalion in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Representative Walz is the highest-ranking enlisted soldier ever to serve in Congress. Republican members of the committee are Doug Lamborn from the 5th District of Colorado, Gus Bilirakis from the 12th District of Florida, Mike Kaufman from the 6th District of Colorado, Brad Wenstrup from the 2nd District of Ohio, Amata Coleman-Radewagen from American Samoa, Mike Boss from the 12th District of Illinois, Jody Arrington from the 19th District of Texas, Jim Banks from the 3rd District of Indiana, Jack Bergman from the 1st District of Michigan, Neil Dunn from the 2nd District of Florida, Clay Higgins from the 3rd District of Louisiana, and John Rutherford from the 4th District of Florida. At press time, there were 3 remaining vacancies on the minority side of the committee. Appointments made thus far have gone to Representatives Mark Takano from the 41st District of California, Julia Brownlee from the 26th District of California, Ann McLean Custer from the 2nd District of New Hampshire, Beto O'Rourke from the 16th District of Texas, Kathleen Rice from the 4th District of New York, and Luis Correa from the 46th District of California. Early House legislation. At the same time the House committee and subcommittees are organizing, the Chamber has begun acting on some legislation. Several pieces containing provisions on which the House failed to act last year have been reintroduced and brought to the floor during the first week of the new session. 3 such bills may be of interest to our Bulletin readers. First, the Biological Implant Tracking and Veterans Safety Act directs the VA Secretary to adopt the Food and Drug Administration's FDA, unique device identification system for the labeling of all biological implants and to implement an automated inventory system to ensure that veterans do not receive expired or otherwise contaminated tissue. This bill was posted by Representative Rowe shortly after the House passed it, with support from both parties. In January 2014, a Government Accountability Office (GAO) report found that VA does not use a standardized process for tracking biological tissue from cadaver donors to living veteran recipients. In the event of a recall, it would often be impossible to track down which patient received contaminated tissue. The same GAO report detailed the failure of VHA to consistently ensure that VA is purchasing tissue from biological implant vendors that have registered with the FDA. This bill is meant to remedy this shortcoming. Secondly, the Ensuring VA Employee Accountability Act, introduced by Representative Ryan Costello, Republican, Pennsylvania District 6, would require all reprimands and admonishments given to VA employees to remain in their file as long as they are employed by the department. Under current policy, an admonishment and reprimand can only stay on an employee's record for 2 and 3 years, respectively. The House also approved this bill. A third bill, H.R. 369, would eliminate the sunset of the Veterans Choice Program. This program was created as a pilot by members of the previous Congress and was scheduled to end next year. The current bill would allow veterans who sought medical care outside VA under the pilot program to be able to continue seeing those providers at VA expense. H.R. 369 was referred to the House committee. We will keep you posted on its progress. Annual testimony fast approaching. In other legislative news, BVA has once again been invited to testify at a joint hearing of the House and Senate VA committees relating to our legislative priorities for 2017. We have, of course, accepted this invitation, and Dale Stamper will present his testimony on March 22nd. Fortunately, the hearing will take place while members of the BVA Board of Directors will be at the national headquarters for their midwinter meetings, so we are looking forward to the possibility that the entire board will be able to go to Capitol Hill to witness Dale's presentation to Congress. It is also likely that the hearing will be streamed live online. If you are interested in following it, please check the BVA website for details. We will post these details once they are made available, at least a few days before the hearing. Possible repeal of Affordable Care Act. Another news item that may be of interest concerns the votes taken this past week in both the House and Senate to approve a series of resolutions relating to the federal budget for fiscal year 2018. Those budget resolutions also included language that is meant to start the process of repealing the Affordable Care Act. Republican leaders wanted to start this process early in the congressional year in order to give the new administration a quick win on one of President Trump's campaign promises. In spite of growing concerns among both Republicans and Democrats about the specific details of the repeal legislation, the measures passed both houses with only a handful of Republican votes against it. Now the task of working out those details begins in earnest. Members of Congress from both parties are calling for the repeal and replacement to occur at the same time, but they have yet to agree on how a new law should look. Many will be looking to the executive branch to weigh in and help shape the legislation. Stay tuned for more on this subject as the situation develops. VA healthcare application issue. At the end of June, VHA announced a new process to make it easier for veterans to apply for VA healthcare. Shortly thereafter, BVA learned that there were some significant accessibility issues with the new healthcare application unveiled by VHA. Users of screen readers had difficulty because the system had improperly labeled fields throughout the form, thus making it impossible for a blind person to read the form and fill it out independently. BVA's accessibility officer, Claudia Belk, worked with VA to ensure that these issues were addressed promptly. It appears that the adjusted form is now accessible to screen readers. We will keep you posted as related accessibility issues arise. BVA continues to work with the VA Accessibility Office to address these problems. Keeping in touch. As additional bills are introduced in either House of Congress, we will post information about them on the BVA website and send updates through our legislative email list. If you are interested in receiving updates by email, please send a message to mbrunson@bva.org. Type the words Legislative Email List in the subject line. Please feel free also to send your questions and comments to me using the same email address. It is going to be a busy year, and I expect a significant number of bills and VA policy changes to continually track. The email list is a great way to get timely updates between issues of the BVA Bulletin. We look forward to working with our BVA members throughout the year ahead, and thank all of you in advance for your interest and assistance. President's Page by Dale Stamper. A broadly smiling Dale Stamper is seen in a small shoulder-length thumbnail photograph at the beginning of his column. Dale's formal attire consists of a dress shirt and tie. There is no caption. His President's Page begins as follows. The new year is off and running. During these early days and weeks of 2017, there are many of us who are likely making New Year's resolutions. Recently, I came across an interesting list of the 10 most commonly broken resolutions. Health and financial concerns are almost invariably at the top of the list. They include losing weight while getting fit, kicking a smoking habit, learning something new, eating healthier and dieting, getting out of debt and saving money, spending more time with family, traveling to new places, feeling less stressed, volunteering, and drinking less. The aforementioned goals are positive ones. Unfortunately, following through on goals of this type is often a problem. One resolution that the Blinded Veterans Association could help our members keep, for example, is to travel to Jacksonville, Florida for the BVA 72nd National Convention. This is simply one of my thoughts in passing, but setting this type of a goal is worthwhile if you have never been to the Jacksonville area before, and or if you have never attended a BVA National Convention. I do not normally make resolutions, so I do not worry about keeping them. However, I know that resolutions are important to many people. I have also witnessed over the years that those who make resolutions frequently worry intensely about whether they can keep them. Perhaps it is time for me to personally worry just a little more about resolutions and staying true to them, especially when it comes to BVA. Other than attending the next convention, I wonder what positive things we as BVA members might resolve to accomplish and actually attain. Because we are always in need of new members, we can start by determining to recruit blinded veterans to join our organization. Another useful resolution would be to get more personally involved in our local regional groups. Perhaps some of our members would be willing to volunteer in a medical center. Of great worth to us would be member involvement with fundraising on BVA's behalf. Those are all lofty ambitions, but they are activities in which we can all engage ourselves. It would be rewarding to look back at the end of 2017 and say that something good was accomplished for our beloved organization and that a greater number of our members than ever before were involved in making it happen. Whatever you and I determine to do individually and collectively, even if it be minimal, I unconditionally extend my personal wishes for a happy and prosperous 2017 to all our BVA members, their families, their friends, their caregivers, and all who generously support us in a multitude of ways. We thank you for your service and loyalty. BVA announces Jacksonville as 72nd Convention site. Two relatively small photos using less than half of a column in the publication have been placed with this convention announcement. The first of the two photos reveals an area of downtown Jacksonville that includes a very tall monument of some type surrounded by trees. In the immediate background is a concession stand, and in the more distant background is a large building with a slanted roof visible above the trees. The caption states, "Downtown Jacksonville is home to more than 50 bars and restaurants and an exciting nightlife." Photo courtesy of Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches. The second of the two photos depicts a small boy, perhaps 4 or 5 years old, walking with an adult female, relatively young. By the position of the arms and legs of both, they appear to be walking briskly or even jogging lightly. They are on a path that resembles cobblestone or brick. To their left, a body of water is visible. 5 tall buildings are seen in the distant background. The caption describes the photo thus: "A downtown river walk of approximately 3.5 miles welcomes visitors to explore Jacksonville." Photo courtesy of Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches. The text of the convention information begins. Blinded veterans and their families may now begin planning to attend the BVA 72nd National Convention in Jacksonville, Florida. The 5-day event will convene on Monday, August 14th, and culminate on Friday, August 18th, 2017. The specific site of the meetings, social activities, and learning opportunities is the Hyatt Regency in downtown Jacksonville, where the room rate for the convention week will be $91 per night. Nestled where the St. Johns River meets the Atlantic Ocean, Jacksonville features beautiful beaches, championship golf courses, and milder summer temperatures than those found in major Florida cities to the south. Jacksonville International Airport is located 15 miles from the Hyatt Regency, which will provide complimentary transportation. Highlights of the city also include the Budweiser Brewery, a Casino River cruise opportunity, a naval air station, and 2 U.S. Navy bases. The Blount Island Command and the Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay, together, form the third largest military presence in the United States. The city also honors its many veterans with various monuments, including Memorial Park, completed in 1924 to honor World War I veterans. Each Memorial Day, a ceremony is held at the Veterans Memorial Wall, honoring those who were killed while serving in the armed forces. Major events of the convention already scheduled are Education and Leadership Training, August 14 to 15th, National President's Reception and Dinner, August 15, Exhibit Hall, August 15 to 16th, Official Business Meetings, August 16th to 18th, Father Carroll Memorial Luncheon, August 17th. Last year's exhibit hall in Milwaukee was the largest on record, with more than 50 exhibitors, including 12 companies that had never previously participated. A special invitation is being extended to all potential exhibitors and sponsors to come to Jacksonville. Blinded veterans who know of a commercial or nonprofit organization supporting the blind and visually impaired community may contact Christina Hitchcock, CHITCHCOCK, at bva.org, or Chelsea Dumond, CDUMOND, at bva.org, at BVA National Headquarters. A primary objective for 2017 is outreach to the BVA membership. Please communicate individual and group needs so that education sessions, exhibitors, and sponsors may best suit convention attendees. If there are ways BVA can improve members' experience at the convention, please communicate that information. Convention organizers are also looking for topics and instructors for various education sessions. Please contact Christina or Chelsea with suggestions. Registration for the convention will open in May. Hard copy registration packets can be mailed through the United States Postal Service, while electronic copies may be sent by email. Again, please contact Christina or Chelsea to communicate your preference. Chelsea can also be contacted regarding BVA merchandise that will be available for purchase prior to the convention. Formal official notice. Pursuant to the provisions of Section 3B of Article 9, National Convention of the BVA National Bylaws, all members of the Blinded Veterans Association in good standing are hereby notified that the BVA 72nd National Convention will be held at the Hyatt Regency, Jacksonville, 225 East Coastline Drive, Jacksonville, Florida, 32202, from Monday, August 14th through Friday, August 18th, 2017. Periodic updates regarding the convention will be posted regularly to the convention page on the BVA website. BVA National Headquarters will host the 72nd National Convention. BVA members in good standing who wish to vote by proxy may request a special proxy form by writing or calling the Administrative Director at BVA National Headquarters no later than 45 days before the opening day of the 72nd National Convention. Because the convention opening day is August 14th, the deadline for requesting a proxy form is June 30th, 2017. In compliance with Section 2C of Article 9, the proxy form must be completed and returned to BVA National Headquarters, attention Administrative Director. To be considered valid, the envelope containing the form must be postmarked no later than 21 days before the opening date of the convention. The due date is, therefore, July 24th, 2017. Jones announces dates for required actions. Administrative Director Bridget Jones has announced the following schedule of administrative actions that must be accomplished by regional groups and individuals leading up to the opening of the BVA 72nd National Convention in Jacksonville on August 14th. BVA National Headquarters distributed notices during the month of January regarding nominations for Certificates of Appreciation, the Moss and Diener Awards, and the David L. Schnare Volunteer Service Award. These actions also occurred in compliance with articles within the BVA National Bylaws. A reminder will be mailed to regional group presidents and secretaries on March 20th regarding the due date for submission of bylaw amendments for consideration at the convention. A mailing to all BVA members in good standing and residing in Districts 5 and 6 will also occur on or before March 25th, 150 days leading up to August 14th. The mailing will call for nominations for District Director. 3 copies of the credentials form will also be mailed on April 15th to all regional groups. Both regional groups and individuals should refer to the following timeline in preparing for the convention. Items listed include actions required of the association's national headquarters, regional groups, and individuals. Questions can be addressed by calling 800-669-7079. Asterisks indicate actions required by the BVA National Bylaws. 1. March 17th, asterisk, no later than 150 days before convention. Mail call for nomination of directors of Districts 5 and 6 to members in good standing from each of the 2 districts. Article 6, Section 3D, also published in the March-April BVA Bulletin. 2. March 20th, asterisk. National Headquarters sends reminders to regional group presidents and secretaries that proposed bylaw amendments to be considered at the 72nd National Convention must be postmarked no later than 90 days before the convention, or May 16th. 3. April 21st, asterisk. Mail credentials forms to regional group presidents, vice presidents, secretaries, and treasurer, 3 copies each. Article 14, Section 12C. 4. April 21st, asterisk, nominations for BVA Certificates of Appreciation, the Melvin J. Moss and Irving Diener Awards, and the David L. Schnare Service Award, all due at National Headquarters. 5. May 5th, no earlier than 100 days before the convention. Earliest date to mail pre-registration package and official convention notice to potential attendees. Actual 100-day mark before the convention is May 6th, which is a Saturday this year, requiring a May 5th mailing. 6. Mid-May, asterisk, 72nd National Convention pre-registration package prepared and sent to printer. 7. Mid-May, asterisk, 72nd National Convention proxy forms mailed, but only by request to National Headquarters Administrative Director. 8. May 17th, asterisk, no earlier than 90 days before convention, earliest date to distribute ballots to Districts 5 and 6, Article 6, Section 3D. 9. May 17th, no later than 90 days before convention, envelopes containing proposed bylaw amendments must be directed to National Headquarters and postmarked, Article 19, Section 1B. 10. May 17th, no earlier than 90 days before convention, Earliest date to mail proposed bylaw amendments to members in good standing, Article 19, Section 1B. 11. May 17th, 90 days before convention and 60 days following original mail call referred to above, nominations for regular elections of directors of Districts 5 and 6. 12. June 1st, no later than 75 days before convention, latest date to mail pre-registration official convention notice. 13. June 6th, no later than 70 days before convention. Latest date for national headquarters to mail ballots for regular elections of directors of Districts 5 and 6, Article 6, Section 3D. 14. June 15th, asterisk, national headquarters mails annual financial report forms, 3 copies, to treasurers of regional groups. 15. June 30, no later than 45 days before convention, ballots for regular elections of directors of Districts 5 and 6 due at national headquarters. 16. June 30th, no later than 45 days before convention, latest date to mail proposed bylaw amendments to members in good standing. 17. July 6th, no later than 40 days before convention, regional group meeting notices to elect convention delegates must be mailed to group members. A copy of the notice must also be mailed to national headquarters at the same time it is mailed to the group membership. 18. July 11th, 35 days before convention, national headquarters counts election ballots for regular elections of directors of Districts 5 and 6. And 19. July 24th, 21 days before convention, completed delegate credentials forms and proxy forms must be postmarked no later than midnight. Award submissions highlight convention preparations. This year marks 72 years of Blinded Veterans Serving Blinded Veterans. Each year, BVA recognizes at the National Convention those who have sacrificed and excelled extraordinarily in their lives. Awards include the Major General Melvin J. Moss Award, the Irving Diener Award, the David L. Schnare Award, and certificates of appreciation. These awards were established in order to recognize the honor that these individuals brought to the organization and the effort and dedication that were required to do so. The Major General Melvin J. Moss Achievement Award was initiated by the late Baynard H. Kendrick, a renowned mystery writer and author of Lights Out, the story of a World War II blinded veteran. The award seeks to honor the individual who has contributed to the positive image of the blind community through his or her professional achievement. In honor of Moss, nominations should be individuals who have found success in their employment despite their vision loss and who have also helped other blinded veterans gain independence. Before his death, Moss was quoted in the New York Times, quote, "A handicapped person who lives up to his potential leads a more successful life than the so-called normal person who uses only 50% of his capabilities," end quote. Winners of the Moss Award are men and women with service-connected blindness who have overcome their disability to become independent in their daily living. The Irving Diener Award was initiated by a former member of the BVA National Advisory Committee who continuously supported BVA. As an individual, Diener sought to empower those who were dedicated to the organization. The award seeks to honor those who have made an outstanding commitment to their BVA regional group and the organization as a whole, rather than for their personal achievements in rehabilitation or employment. Diener saw that by recognizing one individual annually, he was motivating the membership to focus on the needs of the veterans located closest to them geographically. World War II blinded veteran David L. Schnare was an early member of BVA and a member of the National Board of Directors for more than 40 years, including Director of District 1. During those same years, he was a volunteer at the New York City Regional Office. Today, BVA continues to honor David's volunteerism through the Volunteer Service Award. Recipients of this award should be exemplary volunteers locally and or nationally. They should have an understanding of the VA system and serve as a spokesperson for the needs of all blinded veterans. The Certificate of Appreciation is in place to acknowledge those who have positively influenced the blinded veteran community and the achievements of its members. To be eligible for this award, an individual may not be a BVA member or a relative of a BVA member. The award is limited to those in the field of blind rehabilitation who serve veterans with vision loss. Nominations for each of the aforementioned awards are currently being accepted. All award nominations are due April 21, 2017. Further information as well as nominating guidelines and criteria can be found on the BVA website. Those selected will be honored at the convention. The venue for the Moss, Diener, and Schneer Awards is the Friday Awards Banquet, the culminating event of the convention week. The awards banquet also recognizes the regional groups who have earned the gold, silver, and bronze gavels for the past fiscal year. Certificates of appreciation are awarded at the Thursday Father Thomas Carroll Memorial Luncheon, following the event's keynote address. Convention resolution raises registration fee. Resolution 21-16, approved by the BVA membership at the 71st National Convention's closing business session last August 26th, raised the convention registration fee from $100 to $120, effective in 2017. Additional references to the increase will be included in the upcoming convention's registration packet and in future issues of the Bulletin. Florida Airboats Exceed Expectations by Mike Taylor, Florida Regional Group. A small photo has been included with Mike's article. The image reveals 6 persons seated in some type of craft situated in water. There are 3 rows of people, 1 lady and 2 gentlemen in the front row, a single lady in the middle row, and a man and a woman in the final row. All are smiling broadly with arms and hands extended high in the air as far as they will go, indicating that they are about to embark on an action-packed ride. The gentleman on the front row in the middle is wearing a baseball cap with an embroidered BVA emblem. The caption states, Mike Taylor, front row and center, embarked with family and friends on an airboat joyride, October 26, 2016. The ride was more exciting and enjoyable than anything he had imagined. The text of the article begins as follows. Last April 9th, I received an email from Paul Kaminsky informing the Florida Regional Group's listserv of a free offer. Crazy Fish Airboat Tours owner-operator Josh Schrut was offering free passage for blinded veterans. 6 months later, on October 26th, I rode on an airboat for the first time. The opportunity exceeded all of my expectations. I had no idea how much fun the tour would be and the many surprises we would experience. Sitting in the middle of the front seat, I received less spray than my seatmates on either side. A northeaster had the waters at the mouth of the St. Johns River and the intercoastal waterway rougher than normal. Although the 24-foot airboat went over the wave crest with ease, we came down in the troughs with a bang. Captain Josh's custom-made aluminum airboat is propelled by a 6-foot 4-blade fiberglass propeller. The propeller is turned by a supercharged 600-horsepower Corvette engine, which pushes the craft with as many as 18 passengers at speeds up to 60 miles per hour. Perhaps only with an airboat is it possible to jump over mud banks with speed and land back in the water on the other side. I don't believe I have ever experienced turns in any other watercraft that can match those that occur on an airboat. It is truly a wild ride. The Crazy Fish Airboat Tour has many points of interest and offers a number of surprises. We started our expedition by going out of the mouth of the St. Johns River between the jetties, where the flow empties into the Atlantic Ocean. Next, we passed the Mayport Navy Base, where 21 ships, including fast deployment vessels and destroyers, are docked. A commercial shipyard was a beehive of activity with a 600-foot ship pulled into the dry dock while getting its hull painted. We went up Shadd's Creek, where homes are located on both sides of the water. Another point of interest was Huguenot Park, where low tides expose oyster beds. We were also able to pass by the Mayport shrimpers, who had returned to their docks with the day's catch. The airboat tour is an experience that I hope to repeat. We had plenty to talk about when we got back to the dock. If blinded veterans live in or visit the Jacksonville, Florida area, Captain Josh encourages them to call him and reserve a seat at 904-334-8408. He can also be reached by email at jschrutt@aol.com. More information, including a link to a video, is also available at www.crazyfishjax, that's JAX.com. With the convention in Jacksonville now on the horizon, please don't rule out a late summer experience with Crazy Fish Airboat Tours. The Podcast and You by Timothy Hornick. Do you enjoy listening to audiobooks from the National Library Service's Braille and Audio Reading Download, BARD, program? Would you like to listen to the latest news or learn the latest information about medical research through short on-demand episodes? If so, you may wish to investigate your favorite topics via a podcast. Podcast refers to any media type, audio and video, for example, consumable through computing devices, personal computers, and digital audiobook readers. In 2004, Ben Hammersley of the British Broadcasting Company brought about the podcast by merging the extremely popular Apple iPod with on-demand broadcasting programs. Today, podcasts claim one of the top spots for individuals, organizations, and many of your favorite broadcast programs to engage with their audiences. No other media genre allows one to hear news from around the world, then learn a new science fact, and then pick up a new language by simply pressing the next selection button. Believe it or not, you already possess the necessary devices and knowledge to be a consumer of podcasts. There are three main methods: digital audiobook player, smartphone, or web browser. The HIMS, Blaze, and Victor reader stream contain a menu option for podcasts. Both devices offer an assortment of podcasts that HIMS and Freedom Scientific believe are appealing to the visually impaired community. Podcasts allow the user to expand or remove the preloaded titles and search for new channels. Secondly, the Apple Podcast app, Overcast, and TuneIn feature an almost limitless number of podcasts for your smartphones, tablets, and streaming media devices, such as the Apple TV 4th generation. Finally, many of your favorite TV channels for news and radio shows utilize podcasts to release recordings of supplemental material. Give any of these a try through a search for Blind Veteran in any of these options' search fields. Even the Blinded Veterans Association recently stepped into the podcasting arena through a committee formed following last August's National Convention. Our goal is to promote news and information about BVA through podcasts and other digital communication methods. This process starts with the newly constructed bvamedia.net website, and we will soon start publishing legislative news updates, current activities at VA, information about our membership, and BVA's public service announcements. If you enjoy learning and sharing information about technology, consider participating in one of several teleconferences for and by blinded veterans. The Heinz Blind Center alumni and Blind Vet Tech teleconferences are open to everyone. A schedule of teleconferences may be found at blindvettech.blindnotalone.com. You can also stay up to date with the latest news and announcements from the Blind Vet Tech team by subscribing to the Blind Vet Tech News and Announcements podcast on iTunes and or subscribing to the Blind Vet Tech Quick Guides and Tutorials on iTunes. Around BVA, Randy Durrigan given Man of the Year honors. The Standard Times newspaper of New Bedford, Massachusetts, has named blinded veteran Randy Durrigan as the town of Fairhaven's Man of the Year for 2016 for his, quote, courage in the face of adversity and his commitment to helping others, end quote. The newspaper posted an article by Amy Chiavaroli regarding the honor in its December 25th edition and updated the story on December 28th. The article details Randy's successful career as a wire inspector and manager of his own electrical business prior to losing his sight in 2004 due to optical nerve damage. It mentions the subsequent depression he faced and the 6 weeks at the Eastern Rehabilitation Center at West Haven that changed his life forever. A veteran of the U.S. Air Force, Randy originally believed that VA could not help him since his diagnosis was unrelated to his military service. Not only did he shortly thereafter discover that help, he has also assisted others in doing the same. He's a great volunteer, and he's an inspiration to other blind veterans when he tells his story. Providence VA Medical Center VIST coordinator Adele Geringer is quoted as saying in the article, Adele has been with Randy for the duration of his ups and downs and has been a witness to it all. Randy's outreach to other veterans with vision loss includes a long stint as president of the Rhode Island Southeastern Massachusetts Regional Group and 7 years of voluntary service to veterans in VA's Voluntary Service Program. Last April, he received a certificate that cited his then 1,310 volunteer hours. In 2014, Randy received the Irving Diener Award at the National Convention in Reno. He is constantly distributing BVA informational and promotional materials to prospective BVA members and their families at support group meetings, public events, and privately on his own. New York vets join America's Parade. An accompanying photo has been placed with this entry in Around BVA. It is a small photo with some 16 individuals included in 3 horizontal rows, which means that most of the photo's subjects appear relatively small. In the first 2 rows are 9 young ladies who have a small royalty crown on their heads. The third row includes 2 elegantly dressed additional young ladies with similar crowns and 5 blinded veterans. All but the gentleman on the far right are wearing BVA baseball caps. The latter is wearing a cowboy hat. In the background are large numbers of people holding up signs. Also visible in the background are sides of two large buildings with dozens of windows. The caption states, standing left to right on the back row behind several Miss Teenage America contestants, Warner Murray, Regional Group President, Enrique Sanchez, pointing white cane high in the air, Rudy Gomez, Ron Syracuse, and Miguel Davis. The story reads as follows. 7 members of BVA's New York Regional Group joined post-9/11 veterans as well as police, firefighters, and civilians who served as 9/11 responders in their participation in New York City's Veterans Day Parade November 11th. It was the 10th consecutive year of the group's participation in a parade that has roots extending back nearly 100 years. The current parade is produced by the United War Veterans Council, Inc. Referred to now as America's Parade for its size and breadth of participation, the event is America's largest celebration of service. The New York veterans rode on the front of a float entered by Verizon Communications, Inc. They were accompanied by a group of female retired Air Force veterans who sang patriotic musical numbers, some of which were the official marches of the 5 branches of service. Quote, as you can imagine, it was a grand day for us as we again had the opportunity to march up Fifth Avenue as we do every year, waving and showing off our banner, which was new and improved this year, said Enrique Sanchez, the group member most responsible for securing the annual entry. After the parade, we strolled over to Applebee's for our free meal, which for at least one of us was not the only free meal of the day from the same restaurant chain. Joining the veterans in support with a seat on the reviewing stand located near the 42nd Street Library was blind rehabilitation outpatient specialist Deborah Kraut. Deborah must have arrived very early in order to get that spot on the reviewing stand, said Enrique. We were thrilled that she could be there with us and for us. Also close to the regional group's entry and interacting considerably with the veterans was a group of upcoming Miss Teenage America contestants from New York and nearby states. The parade carries on the traditions of the New York City Veterans Day Parade, which in turn traces its roots back to earlier parades organized by veterans of the American Revolution and the War of 1812. The New York Veterans Day Parade began in 1919 with the signing of the armistice ending World War I. In the 1970s and 1980s, the parade experienced a decline in public support due to the controversies of the Vietnam War. In response, a group of Vietnam veterans relaunched the United War Veterans Council to rescue it. In recent years, a new generation of veterans has stepped forward to take stewardship of the parade. This year's event had 3 grand marshals, each a 9/11 responder and a veteran of America's post-9/11 wars. According to Enrique, the length of the parade is staggering, illustrated by the fact that the first entries left the beginning point at 26th Street at approximately 11:15 a.m., and the final entries not arriving at the 52nd Street ending until after 3:30 p.m. This is one incredible show of respect and honor to all veterans that we are very grateful to be a part of, said Enrique. Applications still accepted for 2017-2018 scholarships. BVA will award 7 total scholarships for the 2017-2018 school year, 6 under the Catherine F. Gruber classification and 1 through the Thomas H. Miller program. The Gruber scholarships are valued at $2,000 each, and the Miller stipend is for $1,000. The Miller program, now in its 5th year, requires the same application process and qualifications as the Gruber Awards, but has an added emphasis on music and the fine arts. The scholarship committee will choose 7 recipients and 2 alternates. Dependent children, grandchildren, and spouses of both blinded veterans and active duty blinded service members of the U.S. Armed Forces are eligible for the scholarships. The veteran or service member must be legally blind, and the blindness may be either service-connected or non-service-connected. He or she need not be a member of the Blinded Veterans Association. To be eligible for the scholarship, an applicant must have been accepted for admission or already be enrolled as a full-time student in an accredited institution of higher education or business, secretarial, or vocational training school. BVA began its first scholarship program 34 years ago. The awards are intended to defray a student's educational expenses, including tuition, books, and other academic fees. Scholarship payments will be made by BVA directly to the educational institution. The scholarships will be awarded on a most highly qualified basis, utilizing the following criteria: answers to questions on the application form, transcripts of high school and or college records, 3 letters of reference, and a 300-word essay relating to the applicant's career goals and aspirations, as well as past awards and achievements. Scholarships are awarded for 1 year only. Applicants are advised that the BVA National Board of Directors has determined that Gruber and Miller scholarship recipients are limited to a total of 4 scholarships during their college careers. Applications for the scholarships may be accessed and downloaded at bva.org, by emailing the request to projectassistant@bva.org, or by sending a written request via postal mail to BVA National Headquarters, 125 Northwest Street, 3rd floor, Alexandria, Virginia, 22314. Completed applications and supporting materials must be returned to BVA no later than Friday, April 21, 2017. Due to time constraints related to processing the applications for the Scholarship Committee's review, applications arriving subsequent to the aforementioned deadline will not be accepted. Incomplete applications will not be submitted to the Scholarship Committee. It is the responsibility of the applicant, not BVA, to ensure a complete application. Recipients of the Gruber Scholarships for the current academic year are Archara Colonel from Panama City, Florida, attending the University of Florida; Adoria Hughes from Columbus, Georgia, attending Troy University; Cassandra Lowry from Chandler, Arizona, attending the University of St. Augustine; Patrick Marchenko from Sykesville, Maryland, attending Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, Virginia Tech; Robinson Richardson from Washington, Indiana, attending Purdue University; and Catherine Thibault from Duluth, Minnesota, attending the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. The Miller Scholarship recipient for this year is Rachel Bianculli from Charlton, Massachusetts, attending Manhattan College. Project Gemini, a finalist for Soldiering On Award. Blind Veterans UK's recent annual exchange in the United Kingdom with members of BVA has been shortlisted as a finalist for the 2017 Soldiering On Awards in the international category. In recognition of the selection made November 15, 2016, by an independent judges panel at the British House of Lords, 2 representatives from Blind Veterans UK attended the finalists' reception at the same House of Lords on February 9th. Overall winners will be announced on March 24th at the Park Plaza Westminster Bridge Hotel in London. The Soldiering On Awards provide national recognition for the outstanding achievements of those who have served their country and of individuals and groups who work together with the armed forces community in Great Britain. The objective is to encourage support for the British Armed Forces community by nationally recognizing the achievements of groups, individuals, and organizations that support this community. Project Gemini, initiated in May 2011 and named for the transatlantic cable that connects the U.S. and the U.K., is a joint initiative between BVA and Blind Veterans UK. The initiative seeks to heighten public awareness within the 2 countries of the issues facing veterans with vision loss, as each year a different group of combat-blinded veterans from both countries share knowledge, insights, and friendship. The fruits of the program are improvements in services and benefits for veterans and their families from both countries. In June 2016, 4 Operation Iraqi Freedom combat-blinded American veterans joined 5 British veterans and 2 war-blinded veterans from South Africa. Project Gemini 2017 will be held May 21st to 28th with a special focus on the 100th anniversary of World War I. On the afternoon of May 24th, the American Embassy will sponsor a public education session. Although plans are not yet final, according to Tom Zampieri, presentations at the embassy will focus on progress made since World War I in the treatment of wounded veterans, rehabilitation of the blind, and new connections between World War I's shell shock, traumatic brain injury, and modern systems of post-traumatic stress disorder. Davises attend Bow Arlington service. A photo accompanies this news report. 3 formally dressed individuals, 1 gentleman and 2 ladies, are seen standing together in front of a large vault containing the names and vital pieces of information, such as birth dates and death dates, for a number of U.S. veterans. All 3 are sporting a serious look. The gentleman at the left of the photo is wearing a BVA service cap. The older-looking lady next to him is holding an American flag that has been perfectly folded according to proper protocol. The lady at the far right is wearing a dark overcoat. The caption reads, "Wade and Brenda Davis with Martina Bow at final resting place for blinded veteran, husband, and friend George Bow of the Greater Houston Regional Group." The account of what happened begins as follows. National Field Service staff members Wade and Brenda Davis, both of whom now work at BVA National Headquarters, joined Martina Bowe and extended family members for the funeral service and internment of World War II blinded veteran George Bowe at Arlington National Cemetery on December 12th. Wade and Brenda were good friends of George and Martina through the Greater Houston Regional Group and their simultaneous service at the Michael E. DeBakey VA Medical Center in Houston the past few years. George passed away last June 5 at age 92. A religious memorial service was held June 16th in the VA Medical Center chapel. He was a dedicated volunteer at the medical center, accumulating 4,004 volunteer hours over a 12-year period. He served in the community living center as a piano teacher and in the physical therapy department assisting with patient needs. He also helped out in the same aforementioned chapel by providing floral arrangements for many of their services. George and Martina were also known in BVA circles for their successful entries with two other couples in a local gumbo cook-off held annually and reported in the Bulletin in recent years. Al Avena among top D.C. Association leaders. Two photos accompany this brief Around BVA entry. The first of the two is a picture of two different banners, one of which overlaps the other. At the top of the first banner are the uppercase words, Trending 40 Association Leaders. Below these words is the logo of Vernado Realty Trust and its location in the Crystal City neighborhood of Arlington, Virginia. The overlapping image reveals a photo of a middle-aged gentleman wearing a sweatshirt with a hood and text that identifies him as Al Avena of the Blinded Veterans Association. The second photo shows 18 formally dressed persons lined up more or less side by side in order to pose for the image. Each individual is holding in front of himself or herself at chest level a framed plaque. The caption for both photos says the following: Bruce Porter, far right, accepts Trending 40 Award for Al Avena at luncheon recognizing top Washington Association leaders. The entry starts as follows. Al Avena was recognized on December 1st as one of the Washington, D.C. area's top association CEOs at a luncheon sponsored by a group of business professionals known in the nation's capital as Trending 40. The luncheon was attended by BVA hockey program director Bruce Porter, who accepted the award on Al's behalf. Quote, "It was my honor to accept this award for Al and the Blinded Veterans Association," said Bruce. "I was able to make some good connections and see that everyone is excited about what we are doing for our veterans." Trending 40 is an editorial and events program that recognizes the top talent in the business, nonprofit, and legal community in Washington, D.C. The program is supported by the business community of Greater Washington. Rare golf feat for BVA board member. Although an avid golfer, Director of District 5 Paul Kaminsky could not have imagined what would happen next after teeing up a ball January 18th on the 160-yard 13th hole at Eagle Landing Golf Course in Middleburg, Florida. Using his tailor-made 5-wood fairway club, Paul stroked the ball into the wind. As the ball landed on the green, fellow golfers Sam Kilgore, Father Edward Rooney, and Chuck Kohler told him that the ball appeared to be right next to the flagstick, but that they could not see the bottom of the pole. "As we approached the green, my ball was not in sight," said Paul. "We then walked to the hole and saw the yellow ball sitting at the bottom of the cup." The ace was Paul's first ever, despite years of playing golf as both a sighted and a legally blind veteran. Father Rooney is a retired priest from St. Luke's where Paul attends church. Kilgore and Kohler are friends and fellow parishioners. "These guys take me out golfing at least once a week because they know I love it," said Paul. The Bulletin received two photos to accompany the preceding entry in Around BVA. The first of the two shows a round hole surrounded by the artificial grass which constitutes a golf putting green. In the middle of the hole is a round stick or peg that extends upward to the top of the photo and beyond. A golf ball is seen inside the hole. The caption reads, "Paul Kaminsky's missing golf ball, believed by his playing foursome to have at least reached the putting green, was eventually found sitting in the cup. The discovery confirmed that Paul's first shot was an ace in the hole." A second photo shows 4 men standing side by side in front of a building. Directly behind the men are 2 panels of glass windows and a lamp attached to the wall of the same building. To the right of the windows is an entry door. The door also has 2 panels of windows. Each of the men is wearing shorts and a golf shirt, except the one second from the left, who is attired in slacks. The photo can be further described as follows. Paul Kaminsky, second from left, with friends and hole-in-one witnesses. Left to right, Sam Kilgore, Father Edward Rooney, and Chuck Kohler. Patron comments sought regarding NLS technology. Pete Davis, immediate past director of District 3 and past president of the Mid-Atlantic Regional Group, is currently a member of the Reading Technology Advisory Group, RTAG, of the Talking Books program of the National Library Service, NLS. Members of RTAG represent blind and physically handicapped individuals in providing suggestions to NLS regarding new Braille and audio equipment. He currently seeks comments and input from blinded veterans who may be regular users of the service and who may be able to offer critiques, especially as they relate to the service's limitations. Positive feedback is also welcome. We want to know what our veterans like and what they don't like about the service, in this case as it relates to technology, said Pete. The responses Pete receives are instrumental in guiding NLS in the implementation of new technologies to be used in the distribution and presentation of library collections in the next few years. To provide Pete with this feedback, please send an email message to thepetedavis@gmail.com. 2016 District Realignment equalizes numbers. Section 1A of Article 6 of the BVA National Bylaws stipulates that the United States and its possessions shall be divided into 6 director districts, to be known as Districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The territorial boundaries were established at the Midwinter Board meeting in 1994 and were to be reviewed every 3 years by the National Board of Directors on the basis of the number of members and associate members, so that each district will be populated with, as nearly as possible and practical, an equal number of both combined. During its annual meeting held in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, August 21st to 26th, the Board of Directors made the following realignment changes to the 6 director districts. As a result of the changes, the new composition of the 6 director districts is now as follows. Number in parentheses is the number of states, territories, or districts comprising each one. District 1, Cape Cod and Islands, Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Vermont, 10. District 2, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, and Wisconsin, 13. District 3, Delaware, District of Columbia, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, 10. District 4, Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, Idaho, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington, 8. District 5, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia, 3. District 6, Arkansas, Colorado, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming, 10. Auxiliaries View by Pam Hogan. Pam's Auxiliaries View column also comes accompanied by a small head and shoulders photo. Pam is wearing an elegant dress. She is smiling broadly in the photo. There is no caption. The text of the Auxiliaries View reads as follows. On behalf of our National Auxiliary officers, I express my sincere hope that your holiday season was wonderful and that the new year is thus far going well for all of our blinded veterans and their caregivers. May peace, health, and happiness bring brightness to your days. As difficult as it is to believe, it is time to begin thinking of scholarship applications for the children and spouses of blinded veterans. For the 34th year, BVAA will be offering financial support to deserving applicants who are engaged in higher education pursuits. This year, there are 2 $2,000 scholarships and 1 $1,000 scholarship available. The application and instructions for submission are available on our website, www.nbvaaux.org. All application materials are due no later than May 5, 2017. The chilly winter weather makes for an ideal time for sewing, crafting, and needlework. Please consider coming up with an extra little something to donate to the silent auction at this year's convention. Handcrafted items are the most sought after, but there is no limit to the type of donations we receive and readily accept. Remember, all of the proceeds from the silent auction go toward our scholarship program. As in prior years, the Reverend Edna Dixon, our Vice President, will be more than happy to receive your donations and bring them to the convention. Instructions for sending these items are also found on our website. We've recently learned of this year's convention in Jacksonville, Florida, and would love to see you there. Please keep August 14 to 18 open as a week to spend in a sunny, warm location. Keep a lookout for the convention registration package. The auxiliary also reacts with extreme sadness to the passing of George Myers, one of our more well-known blinded veterans from the Arkansas Regional Group, who was a regular at the national conventions and in conversations with our auxiliary officers and members. In addition to his BVA service locally in several capacities, he participated in local school and community events as a BVA representative, often making financial contributions out of his own pocket to such events on behalf of the national organization and regional group. He was continually expressing thanks to BVA staff members and our auxiliary officers with kind words and other tokens of generosity. George was a faithful donor to the auxiliary silent auction. Without a doubt, his genuine cheer and his beautiful leather works will both be sorely missed. His wonderful service and concern for other veterans now leaves an unfillable void. I always appreciate receiving updates from our auxiliary regional groups and active members throughout the country. Please keep me posted on your events and the many positive things you are doing to support our blinded veterans. These updates can be sent to me directly or through our Bulletin editor, Stuart Nelson, snelson@bva.org. Happenings in District 5 by Paul Kaminsky. Who We Are. This first subsection of Paul's two-page narrative relative to District 5 comes accompanied by a photo of 4 gentlemen standing side by side and posing for the photo. A fifth person, a young lady, is seen seated in front and closest to the 2 men on the left. She is wearing a long-sleeved blouse that has a tight fit at the neck. Left to right, each of the gentlemen is wearing a BVA service cap except the second. On the head of the second is a Santa Claus cap. Also noteworthy in the photo is the third gentleman from the left. In addition to his white cane, his nose is covered with an object that makes it appear to be red in the original photo, much like the color of Rudolph's nose on the sleigh of Santa Claus. The caption references the photo as follows. Left to right, back row, at the holiday festivities of the Atlanta chapter of the Georgia Regional Group, Chapter Vice President and Treasurer Alonzo Edwards, Georgia Regional Group President Jesse Jones, Jr., past National President Dr. Norman Jones, Jr., and past Chapter President John Little. Kneeling is Zana Griffin, granddaughter of blinded veteran Theophis Griffin. The text of the subsection begins. BVA's District 5 is located in the southeastern portion of the United States. It consists of 4 regional groups: Alabama, Emerald Coast, Georgia, and Florida. The Emerald Coast Regional Group is the newest group to form and covers the panhandle of Florida. Although most of the other 5 BVA districts have a significantly larger number of regional groups, all 6 districts have approximately the same number of members. Within District 5, there are 3 VA blind rehabilitation centers, the Southeastern BRC in Birmingham, the Augusta BRC, and the West Palm Beach BRC. District 5 also has what we presume to be drawing appeal. Florida, with its year-round sunshine and golf, Georgia with its juicy plump peaches, the Emerald Coast with its crystal-clear emerald-colored waters along sandy white beaches, and Alabama with its never-say-never roll tide. Let us not forget either our Southern hospitality. Since adjournment of the BVA 71st National Convention, the Florida Regional Group has held membership social luncheons in Orlando, Jacksonville, Fort Myers, and most recently in Ocala in January. The latter luncheon hosted approximately 200 blinded veterans, their escorts, and area VA personnel. 2 more luncheons, one in Tampa and another in Fort Lauderdale, are scheduled for February and March. In April, it's Orlando again for the Florida State Convention. Officers of the Emerald Coast Regional Group have been busy building the group's membership. Activities include participation in blind awareness activities, gathering together for a Thanksgiving holiday feast, and various social activities. At the beginning of December, Emerald Coast held its Christmas party, inviting the local VIST coordinator, Bros, and director of the Biloxi BRC as guests. Georgia is where the term Southern hospitality originated, and the regional group has remained true to the idea. The Columbus chapter held its Christmas luncheon on December 3rd, and the Atlanta chapter followed suit on December 7th in conjunction with a remembrance of Pearl Harbor. Local participation sorely needed. Fast approaching are state conventions in which regional groups elect or re-elect officers to carry on the business of their respective groups and elect delegates for representation at the national convention. Our national organization can certainly encourage BVA members to write letters that affect national legislation or get involved in what we are trying to accomplish on a broad scale. Nevertheless, without local participation or support, the association is actually weakened at all levels. The term grassroots is used to describe the type of involvement we need from our regional groups and the members within them. We need to be involved. In District 5, as in other districts, the lack of participation has forced regional groups to shut down and or merge with other groups. It takes a minimum of 3 officers and 5 members to organize and maintain a regional group. Most recently, the Alabama Regional Group fell short of that requirement and is currently working through BVA National Headquarters to decide the future for the membership living within the state boundaries. 72nd National Convention Musings. The word is now out in this issue of the Bulletin and other communiques throughout the organization that the BVA National Convention will be held in Jacksonville, Florida. The hotel selected, Hyatt Regency, sits right on the St. Johns River, which is the only river flowing north in all of the United States. Maybe we can talk BVA into having rubber duck races where we drop the ducks into the water downstream and award a prize to the first duck to make it across the finish line. Whatever events the locals can come up with for us, they will surely reflect friendship and hospitality. District 5 in Jacksonville, Florida look forward to the big event and the first BVA National Convention to be held in the First Coast City, home of the mighty Jacksonville Jaguars, who won 3 games this past season. Up is the word for next football season. What other way could it go? New members help keep BVA strong. Please remember that the temporary low price of $20 for a full-life membership will end on August 1st, just prior to the BVA 72nd National Convention. At that point, the previous rates will again be in place. BVA's historical achievements as an advocate for blinded veterans cannot be underestimated or exaggerated. Over the years, the organization's voice has been significant in the funding and multifaceted progress in the area of VA services for blind, visually impaired, and more recently, low-vision veterans. Our congressional charter, granted in 1958, is a privilege we cannot take for granted as the voice of blinded veterans nationwide before Congress and VA. Despite the charter, there is still a correlation between BVA's ability to advocate for veterans and our sheer numbers. This is especially true when it comes to the funding of programs. As our membership decreases, it is only logical that our ability to advocate will also decrease, and what we have gained since 1945 will slowly disappear. Therefore, please join BVA and encourage your fellow blinded veterans to do so also. It will allow us to provide a larger and louder voice and thereby keep blind rehabilitation services healthy and strong for future blinded veterans. Surely they will need it just as much as we do today. Blinded Veteran Stamps of 1981. Recently, I discovered a tidbit of history in the August, September, October 1981 issue of the BVA Bulletin. In that bulletin was an article about collectible stamps called First Day Covers. The covers are envelopes with canceled stamps and are commemorative issues on a specific subject on a specific date. Also imprinted on the envelopes are drawings associated with the subject. The bulletin article displays 3 of these First Day covers. In my collection, I have 9 First Day covers issued on August 13, 1981. The reason for their issuance was to commemorate a National Blinded Veterans Recognition Day, similar to events that occurred in 2010, in which Ed Eckroth describes in this issue's From the Field Staff. A joint House and Senate resolution of the 97th Congress, which established the Recognition Day, later became Public Law 97-32. It was sponsored by then Senator Alan Simpson, Republican, Wyoming. A presidential proclamation by Ronald Reagan was also released by the White House. The text of the public law and presidential proclamation are both available. If you are interested in receiving a copy, please contact Stuart Nelson by telephone or at snelson@bva.org at BVA National Headquarters. Additional proposals to recognize VSOs, vets. Stuart has also informed me of a more recent effort to be recognized on a postage stamp. In 2001, BVA joined several other VSOs in petitioning the U.S. Postal Service for a commemorative stamp that would recognize the work of those who serve our nation's veterans. Taking the lead in this endeavor was the Jewish War Veterans. The group was also supported by the VA Office of the Special Assistant to the Secretary for VSO Liaison Affairs. Unfortunately, the request 16 years ago was not accepted by the Postal Service. The reasoning was that the number of similar petitions for commemorative stamps was simply too overwhelming. In 2012, however, the Purple Heart Medal stamp was issued. 5 years later, it continues to honor the sacrifices of the men who serve in the U.S. military who have been wounded or killed in action as a forever stamp in 3 different formats. From the Field Staff by Ed Eckroth. A thumbnail photo of Ed also accompanies the Field Service column for this issue. It is a headshot taken at a slight angle with a very small portion of a U.S. flag in the background. Ed is seen wearing dark glasses. There is no photo caption. The content of Ed's column begins. Remembering BVA's 72nd anniversary. As at least some of our Bulletin readers are aware, the 72nd anniversary of BVA's March 28, 1945 founding is fast approaching. This issue of our publication is our last one before that historic day. Many are probably also aware of the special recognition BVA received 7 years ago as we approached the 65th anniversary of the organization. Tom Zampieri, our Director of Government Relations at the time, did considerable legwork and went the extra mile in many ways to make certain that this recognition would be possible. On April 7th of 2010, President Obama signed House Joint Resolution 80 congratulating BVA on the 65 years of service to blinded veterans. The resolution had been drafted and introduced by Representative Debbie Halverson, Democrat, Illinois, District 11, in early March and passed the House of Representatives on March 18th. With major assistance from then Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs Chairman Daniel Akaka, Democrat of Hawaii, the resolution was also approved in the full Senate on March 26th, the day before Congress adjourned for Easter recess. Besides acknowledging the association's humble beginnings and 65-year history, the resolution also calls upon all Americans to remember National Blinded Veterans Day on March 28th in future years. Former VA Secretary Eric K. Shinseki also wrote a letter to Tom Miller, BVA Executive Director at the time, offering, quote, warm best wishes to you and all members of BVA on the occasion of your organization's 65th anniversary, end quote. Although as an organization we have commemorated this event rather privately since 2010, we have not openly invited our fellow Americans to remember National Blinded Veterans Day on March 28th. We wish to extend our outreach this year by requesting that our BVA regional groups, their chapters, VIST support groups, and board members inform their communities of these unique congressional resolutions that permanently established Blinded Veterans Day nationally. Reaching out to the media, government officials, and the public in our local communities may well be an important key to opening the door to locating more of our blinded veterans who are in need of assistance. Some of these could eventually contribute to an increase in our membership ranks. Stuart Nelson, BVA Manager of Communications, can share electronically or via postal mail a number of helpful resources with those who are interested in contributing to this effort. Included are the aforementioned resolutions, an outline of BVA's historical achievements, and a sample press release. Please contact him at 202-371-8880 or at snelson@bva.org. Of note, Pittsburgh study shows improved access. My VA Access, a VA program implemented in 2015 to improve veterans' access to care, has received high marks from a recent study conducted by the University of Pittsburgh Joseph M. Katz Graduate School of Business and the University of Pittsburgh School of Pharmacy Program Evaluation and Research Unit, PERU. The study, performed with VA's cooperation, concluded that My VA Access had established sustainable solutions within VA facilities to improve veterans' access to care. VA has done a remarkable job of improving veteran care access across the system, especially for urgent care, in a relatively short period of time, said Dr. Janice Pringle, co-principal investigator at the School of Pharmacy. The project evaluated the outcomes associated with the first year of VA's My VA Access program as compared with those of the prior year. 2 fundamental questions were examined. 1, has veterans' access to urgent care improved as intended? 2, is the strategy of prioritizing urgent care appointments the better course of action? The study determined that the answers to both questions was a definite yes. Data for the study was collected from 140 VA health facilities across the country. Researchers made several recommendations for how VA can better institutionalize the My VA Access program. Justice Department revises audio description rules. The Justice Department announced late last year an Americans with Disabilities Act ADA, Title III regulation to further clarify a public accommodations obligation to provide appropriate auxiliary aids and services for people with disabilities. The final rule provides that public accommodations which own, operate, or lease movie theaters are required to provide closed movie captioning and audio description whenever showing a digital movie that is produced, distributed, or otherwise made available with these features. It requires theaters to have available and maintain the equipment necessary to provide closed movie captioning and audio description so that it is delivered to a movie patron's seat and available only to that patron. Although the Justice Department has long held the position that captioning and audio description are auxiliary aids required by the ADA, the announcement said numerous reports from the disability community have indicated that neither closed movie captioning nor audio description has been universally available at movie theaters across the United States. For more information about the rule or the ADA, please visit the Department's ADA website or call the ADA Information Line at 800-514-0301. Once the final rules are published in the Federal Register, a copy will be available on the Federal Register's website. Steve Baskus to address Military Vision Symposium. Blinded veteran Steve Baskus, a member of the Illinois Regional Group and BVA's Operation Peer Support Committee, will be a guest speaker at the 6th Military Vision Symposium on Ocular and Vision Injury, March 30th to 31st. Steve will be among the speakers who open this symposium during the first of the 2 days at the Starr Center at Shepard's Eye Research Institute of Massachusetts Eye and Ear in Boston. Steve was among the youngest Operation Iraqi Freedom veterans to be severely wounded. He was blinded in 2008 at age 21 when, only 8 months into his deployment, his squad was attacked while on combat patrol and a sophisticated roadside bomb sent a projectile through his thickly armored vehicle, killing his friend and leaving him with multiple orthopedic injuries, facial fractures, traumatic brain injury, and penetrating eye injuries. Since his recovery, Steve has, among many other things, attended the Central Blind Rehabilitation Center at Hines, climbed 5 of the world's highest mountains on 5 continents, assisted in 2 international humanitarian projects, and progressed with a college education. He is currently training to one day become a part of the U.S. National Paralympic Biathlon Ski and Rifle Shooting Team. The symposium will feature lectures, interactive panel discussions, poster sessions, and keynote speakers that present original research on the unique challenges of treating eye injuries from explosive devices. It will discuss the public health aspects of eye injuries and the physics, consequences, rehabilitation, and restoration of blast injuries, including the medical response at the Boston Marathon bombing. Discussions will also emphasize the need for thorough data collection and the development and use of appropriate analysis programs as preparedness for various types of incidents, such as bombings and natural disasters. Other meetings will facilitate collaboration between military experts, vision researchers, and ophthalmologists. Business owners sought. BVA National Headquarters is searching for blinded veterans who are owners of small businesses to connect them with one another and to highlight their stories and accomplishments through a variety of media. We hope to find examples of successful businesses so that other veterans become interested in starting their own enterprises, said project manager Christina Hitchcock. Additionally, we would also like to maintain a list of businesses so that we can facilitate a connection when we are contacted by individuals or companies seeking service from veteran-owned and veteran-operated companies. No business is too big or too small to be included on the list, according to Christina. Please call her at 202-371-8880, extension 303, or send a message to chitchcock@bva.org. Letters to the Editor. Buck Gillespie Memories. I just finished reading, or listening to, the latest issue of the BVA Bulletin. I had the honor to meet Buck Gillespie on my first trip to the West Haven Blind Rehabilitation Center, BRC, in 1992 when my retinitis pigmentosa, RP, forced me to leave my job. Buck impressed me with his vivacious, laughable manner and a hat he wore that read, "If you'll drive me to drink, I'll buy." The psychologist at West Haven asked me what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I had never had the opportunity or the finances to attend college. He encouraged me to get my education right away. After graduating from the BRC, I did go to college and received a degree in human services. I then found a job as a service coordinator assisting low-income seniors to access available services. It was very rewarding. As my RP progressed, it was difficult, even with assistive technology, to continue effectively in my position. So after 10 years, I retired again. I returned to West Haven in 2003 for computer access training, arriving home with a new computer and the skills to perfect what I had learned. Now, with very limited central vision, I attended the Cleveland BRC last March for updated training, this time with the screen reader technology Zoom Text Fusion, and again, a new all-in-one Hewlett-Packard computer. I also met a classmate, Jose Sanchez, who was newly blinded after 21 years in the Marines and 20 years as a postal carrier. He was and is an avid runner, spending much of his time in Cleveland on the treadmill, much to the amazement of the rest of us. Jose called me last night to inform me that he has been awarded a place in the Boston Marathon. He planned to return to Cleveland in early 2017 to learn iPhone and iPad training. He is a real inspiration to blinded vets all around. I encouraged him to join BVA and hope the people at the BRC will also encourage him to join. In early December here in Syracuse, New York, we had our annual Blinded Veterans Support Group Christmas party at the Syracuse VA Medical Center. One of our World War II members, Joe Martoni, and his son Ralph put on a delicious meal of turkey, ham, pies, and all the trimmings. Unfortunately, our weather did not cooperate, and frankly, we experienced a blizzard. Many of us blinded veterans were not able to attend, nor were our entertainment guests. Nevertheless, we in upstate New York are a hardy people, and we will rebound quickly. James Corcoran, Syracuse, New York Regional Group. In remembrance, a color photo accompanies the page containing the names of blinded veterans remembered in this issue. The small depiction is a skyline image of a series of 5 or 6 tall buildings situated behind and to the slight right of a wide river. 2 different bridges are visible in the photo. The highlight of the photo is the colorful blue sky and apparent blueness of the water as seen from a plane or helicopter. Behind the buildings are other buildings, but smaller in size. In the lower right corner of the photo is italicized text that reads, "Visit Jacksonville and the beaches." The caption states, "The St. Johns River is the longest river in Florida and a most significant one for commercial and recreational use. At 310 miles, it winds through or borders 12 counties, 3 of which are among the largest in the state. The drop in elevation from headwaters to mouth is less than 30 feet. Photo courtesy of Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches." The written portion of In Remembrance reads, "The Blinded Veterans Association deeply regrets the passing of the following blinded veterans. From the Arkansas Regional Group, George W. Myers. From the Cape Cod and the Islands Regional Group, Diane M. Barris. Connecticut Regional Group, Gino S. Deluzio. Florida Regional Group, Bruno J. Adamo. Victor J. Gransky. William R. Lancaster. Preston R. Little. Anthony Lonigro. Joseph L. Pelletieri, John Pitzer, Albert K. Rainey. From the Gem State Group, Jack W. Kesgard. Greater Houston Group, James Brown, Harmon M. Harris, Jr., Vince Kim, Virginia Satchel. Indiana Regional Group, Curtis H. Brown, Eric A. Brunoller, Christopher Condes, C. Ernest Davidson, Tim Gardner, Ella Mae Gibson, Nim Lee Guffey, Robert J. Haig, Joseph G. Hegarty, Roger L. Horn, Janice E. Jackson, Joaquin M. Lara, Howard L. McCracken, Donald E. Mitchell, Richard H. Reister, Elmer Roth, Harmon O. Thrasher, Winfred Wren. Louisiana Regional Group, Margaret Cole, James Darby, Vincent L. DeSalvo, Charles W. McCoy. From the Massachusetts Group, William G. Bowman, William Irwin. Michigan Regional Group, Richard Miller. Mid-Atlantic Group, Paul V. Bartlett, Bill R. Thornton. Minnesota Regional Group, Marlon P. Fredrickson. From the Mississippi Regional Group, Billy Massengale. Nebraska Group, William D. Lyons. New Hampshire Regional Group, June Marie Danku. Eugene F. Marcoux. Stella Nall, William W. O'Brien, Frank A. Pushy. New Jersey Regional Group, Joseph A. Arfiero, Jack Kaglar, Kenneth H. Rayner. From the New York group, Joseph M. Doran, G. Levering Keeley, Kenneth Shea, Henry Wischusen. Northern Arizona Regional Group, Donnie Ray Despain. From the Ohio Regional Group, William R. Schweikert, James R. Strobel, Larry A. Wood. From the Oklahoma Sooner Regional Group, Marion Appling, Donald R. Aitnier, Carl D. Reed, Joseph J. Stencampiano. Rhode Island Southeast Massachusetts Regional Group, Robert C. Lawrence, Jr., Carl E. Sullivan. San Diego Regional Group, Andrew H. Garner. Southern Arizona Group, Herbert F. Stewart. From Southern California, Arthur Glantz. Southern Nevada Regional Group, Anthony Maragosian, Leon Pearson. Tennessee Regional Group, L.B. Husky. Washington Regional Group, Jerry L. Davis, J.C. Duckworth, Kenneth L. Pate. And from the Wisconsin Regional Group, Edward W. Cantrill. Final thought. Consistent with tradition, BVA Bulletin readers are left with a brief thought at the end of the January-February issue. It concludes with a reference to BVA's Blind Hockey Initiative. Included is a photo of a broadly smiling young gentleman posing on ice skates with a hockey stick in the glove of his left hand. He is dressed in a lightweight jacket and a protective helmet. In his right hand, which is wearing no glove, he has raised to shoulder level a previous BVA National Convention tote bag. On the wall behind him are panels containing the logos of the Washington Capitals and the Kettler Capitals Iceplex. The text of the final thought reads as follows. Veterans with vision loss in the greater Washington, D.C. area continue to enjoy an hour or so of ice time up to twice a week as they learn an adaptive version of ice hockey. The BVA initiative includes veterans of all ages and ability levels, including beginning ice skaters. Its origin is a grant BVA received from the VA Office of National Veterans Sports Programs and Special Events. Its objective is to provide enjoyment and recreational rehabilitation to veterans who may have never previously engaged in the sport. We are excited about moving blind hockey forward to take a more prominent place among popular activities for those with vision loss, especially veterans, said Program Director Bruce Porter, pictured here at a weekly Try-It session at Kettler Capitals Iceplex in Arlington, Virginia. And that concludes the reading of the January-February 2017 issue of the BVA Bulletin.